tell us more about the world's impressions of China during President Xi Jinping's visit to the UN headquarters.
Well, this is not just a visit by the Chinese President Xi Jinping to the UN headquarters, but actually he's been playing a very active role in many of the key topics being discussed at the UN headquarters this time. First of all, as our program earlier mentioned, he has already been chairing very successfully the UN Summit on Women and also Gender Equity. He has also been speaking at the South-South Cooperation Conference at the UN headquarters. Many people look at Chinese President Xi Jinping's remarks and they realize this is not just rhetoric. In fact, there are a lot of actions that already been promised and also with the hope of implementing from the Chinese side. For example, about the South-South cooperation, China already promised a $2 billion development fund for South-South cooperation. Meanwhile, investment in the poor countries, debt relief for the least developed countries and economies. This has won applauses in the conference hall and a long line of representatives from different countries after Xi Jinping's speech at the UN. Later, at the summit on the global challenges facing gender equity, Chinese President Xi not only is promising to the international community of $10 million to the UN Women, which is the UN specific organization dealing with gender issues, but also he's been talking about China's own contribution. He talked about establishing schools for women and also girls, and also try to establish more funds and provide more assistance at workplace for the female counterparts. After all, it's holding half the sky, as he said. People are expecting more key messages coming from China. One important thing before I throw back to you is that people are saying China is already taking proactive measures and actions in front of the world challenges rather than just reacting, rather than just lip service. So people are saying this is important. Actions and actions and actions. That's needed urgently in the building right behind me at the UN headquarters. Back to you.
All right, so at this time, President Xi Jinping also made commitments to support sustainable development goals. How does international society react to China's commitment there?
Yes, indeed. China, together with all the other countries at the UN General Assembly earlier, promised to commit to the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, coming from the UN and all the member countries and nations. This is about a plan for the next 15 years when it comes to social development, economic development, and equity. We understand, coming from the UN headquarters, after talking to various officials in charge of various fields of the SDG achievements, they say this is very important that China, as we mentioned earlier, is taking the lead of implementing the actions. And also, this is also very important, they say, China is encouraging other countries to come out and also make the pledge. Earlier, we talked to the Deputy Executive Director of the UN Women, Ms. Puri. She said on the site during the interview that after Chinese President Xi Jinping talked about China's pledges and China's possible actions, in fact, state leaders coming from Germany and some of the other countries also actively want to make their pledge. She said this is quite something in the General Assembly Hall that people have not witnessed for quite some time. We do have a clip of her talking to CCTV News exclusively. Let's play the clip if we can.
What was very moving was that during his, when he was chairing, there were a number of statements made, right from Angela Merkel to, President Hollande, and from Africa, from Asia, all leaders not only saying what we have done, but also saying I'm committing to do this, I'm committing to do that. I'm committing to work for economic empowerment. I'm committing to do something for ending violence against women. I'm committing to take responsibility myself in my highest political position. I think that's what President of China was able to also evoke from other leaders.
That's Ms. Puri, the Deputy Director General of the UN Women, talking to CCTV News exclusively about the part that is very important for the SDG, the Sustainable Development proposed by all countries of the United Nations. And she's talking about China's leadership in this regard. All eyes are now, of course, focusing on the UN General Assembly to see all the state leaders, what they have to say about some of the biggest challenges facing our world today, particularly coming from the Chinese President Xi Jinping, representing one of the world's biggest economies and also a rising leader and power in our world today. Back to you.
All right, many thanks. Stanway joining us live there at the UN headquarters in New York. Appreciate it.